welcome back. This is episode 87 of the UNSECURITY podcast, and I'm your host this week, Brad Nye. Today is July 6th, and joining me this morning, as usual, is Evan Francine. Morning, Evan.
Good morning, Brad. How are you?
Good.
Excellent.
All right.
Am I supposed to say more? Did you want me to say more?
No, I just wanted, hopefully you took the weekend off to relax.
Right.
Yeah.
Hopefully. Wishful thinking.
Well, you know.
I actually went to see my mother in Ohio.
I was taking it off. Maybe not relaxing, but you took off.
No, I got there and she had a list of like 20 things for me to do.
Yeah, visiting family is never vacation.
No.
So we heard we have an incredible guest this week, our fourth in the Women in Security series. Our first guest from outside the FRSecure family, and she's going to have some great stories and wonderful insights to share. There's a long bio, including former Washtenaw.
Nice.
All right, good. County Commissioner, the Center for Internet Security, Director of Partner Engagement, and Executive Director of Trusted Purchasing Alliance. Wow.
Yeah. I don't like short titles. So.
No. Former National Cybersecurity Alliance Director of Special Projects and Government Affairs, the former principal and owner of Opsio?
Yes, nice.
So the current cybersecurity, well, I got that right, and then I mess up current cybersecurity author of numerous education awareness courses, and current CEO, president, and founder of the Cybercrime Support Network, Kristin Judge. Good morning.
Good morning. That's enough. Thank you.
I could have kept going.
Yeah.
They can read about it if they're interested.
Yeah, there are links to, I believe, your LinkedIn in the show notes. So there you go. So we do have a tradition around here. Before we really dive in, we catch up with each other and recap what happened last week. So Evan, you want to go first? What did you do last week besides, the to-do list at your mom's house?
Yeah, besides that, huh? Well, we road tripped, me, my wife, and my youngest daughter, so 15-year-old Lydia. We road tripped Wednesday. We left in the morning, made it there Wednesday night, spent the week. Oh, crap. What did I say? Oh, I went and picked up my Harley that was busted.
Oh, nice.
So got that back home on Tuesday night, just started tearing into it yesterday. Just stuff. Not a lot of work last week in terms of like meetings, just, home stuff probably.
That's good.
Yeah. How about you?
Actually, I was working on our new vCISO approach and some tools for capacity planning and how we scope it. So kind of get to geek out a little bit and do some behind the scenes stuff. So that was fun.
Did you get a chance to talk to Tony?
No, our schedules didn't work out last week. So I think it's tomorrow or Wednesday. We have time on the calendar. So perfect timing. So I'm looking forward to that conversation.
Yeah, Tony loves us, loves the mission, and certainly has some good feedback being in his position as the, I guess it's not officially CISO, but whatever, at Centricare. He's got some really good feedback. Yeah,
and like I said, I'm hoping that his feedback aligns with what we're planning. So fingers crossed, we'll see.
Well, if he doesn't, just let me know, and I'll drive out to his house. And
totally, we listen to you.
I spent 6 hours maybe in the car with him on Tuesday to go pick up the bike.
Oh, wow. That's very cool.
Yeah. So I feel like we're like so attached.
Very cool. You don't have a choice after 6 hours in the car. Either you're attached or you're never going to talk again.
Right. Well, he texted me afterwards, so I think we're still good. I don't know.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah.
Well, I'll find out when we have our conversation.
True.
There you go. How about you, Kristin? What did you do last week?
Well, during the week, it's Monday to Thursday. I thought it would slow down and people wouldn't want to talk to us. But honestly, being in the area where you're serving the victims of cybercrime, and cybercrime is going up exponentially right now, we really aren't slowing down. But I did take Friday off, which was fantastic. It felt like a Saturday because I haven't taken a Friday off in probably years. So that felt really good. And then I did yard work and the pool. So an hour of yard work, then you get really hot, you go in the pool, and vice versa, So I relaxed probably laying down on the raft, just not doing anything for a total of maybe 45 minutes. So that's about as much resting as I can handle. I'm pretty hyper, so.
Good.
So we have two hyper people here. Me,
Yeah,
and, and
Yeah.
Ryan Kalu. Not Ryan Kalu. Hello, Ryan Coltier. And we're both ADHD.
yeah.
Do you have that at all?
Probably.
Okay.
My son does. He's got to get it from somewhere. I can't drink caffeine. If I drink caffeine, I'm a maniac. So I'm already hyper without it. So
Good.
yeah,
Was it really hot in Michigan this weekend?
it was about 90 something.
Okay.
So yeah, that's why you had to go back and forth in the pool, or no work would have been done outside. That's for sure.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Brad, were you outside at all this weekend?
A little bit, but yeah, it was just crazy hot
Like 350 degrees or something.
with like 200% humidity.
Yes,
Like,
the humidity. That's what'll do it. Yeah.
I couldn't tell if it was sweat or my face melting.
right.
A little bit of both, probably.
Yeah. Yeah, I did a little bit. I mowed the yard and just did some light stuff outside. We went to the pond with the kids, the swimming pond
That's
one day. So that was good to kind of get out, and it wasn't too crowded. People were doing a good job keeping distance.
That's good.
Now, how about any 4th of July festivities? Fireworks, anything like that?
We
We
could
just
see some from our house.
Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah.
Can you do the big stuff in Michigan?
You're technically not supposed to, but near us they always do. It's just, yeah, it's one of those things that nobody polices it. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I suppose.
as long as you go and buy it in Ohio and bring it in, you're good.
Yeah, that's what we did. We, except for my mom's dogs are just scared crapless by fireworks. So we ended up buying them, and then we got there and we're like, oh, we'll light up fireworks. And she's like, no, you can't. All right. Well, I guess I'd take them home to Minnesota where they're illegal.
Right.
I don't know.
Just do them on a Tuesday. No one will pay attention.
Yeah, I mean, I'm supposed to be a security guy running a company, supposed to be legal and stuff.
Well, yeah.
Oh, well.
You should be legal in security and computer stuff. Don't become a hacker. That's important. Fireworks might be on a different level, right?
True. Very true.
So, well, very good. Good catching up with everyone. We'll go ahead and get started with the actual meat of the program. The reason people actually tune in.
I'm sorry, you lost me at meat. What'd you say?
I smoked pork steaks this weekend, apple brined.
Oh man, come on.
Yeah.
They were so good. I'll send you a picture.
Are you a meat eater?
Oh yeah, we had homemade hamburgers yesterday. My 25-year-old daughter made them for us with shallots and special sauce. It was so good.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Life's
too short to give up anything. We don't give up anything in our family.
Oh man.
Oh, then I had Chris, I got half a hog a couple weeks ago, so I've been slowly working through it. So we did thick cut bacon yesterday morning for breakfast. Oh my god, it was so good.
You'll never go back to the other one.
Oh no, and thick cut at the store is like nothing compared to this.
Do you have any left?
Yeah, I've got like 9 packages of it.
Are you home right now?
I hear an invitation for breakfast that Evan's coming over.
It's all
Where he
frozen.
lives. He's on the way to my house.
Yeah,
Right.
it's all frozen right now. So
That's all right. I'll wait for it to thaw.
there you go.
Or just eat like a popsicle. Can I eat a bacon like a popsicle?
Well, that would not be good.
Yeah, no, probably not. All right, so this is the 4th week of our series discussing the topic of women in the information security industry. I don't know about you, Evan, but personally, I found the first 3 weeks to be really enlightening and like eye-opening, even though like we knew the 3 and kind of had an idea of what they were going to say. There was some really like eye-opening statements that were like, oh, okay.
It's been incredible. I mean, it's far exceeded my expectations. The first week with Renee, sharing her experience, and that was our first introduction to how important it is, I think, for women to be strong. And Renee, I mean, she is a very strong business leader. And then I had no idea that Lori had 35 years of experience.
and basically raised 4 kids by herself while doing it. Like, it's just nuts. And like, yeah, some of the DoD stuff. And then Victoria with kind of the transition and being new in the industry was really, some of her stories were like, wow.
Well, the one thing that stuck out with me from Victoria, and I'm paraphrasing, you'd have to go back and listen to episode 86, but it was where she shared with me, where she shared with us how she had talked to her friend, the recruiter, about, exploring the opportunity of getting into information security. And he said, yeah, there's plenty of opportunity and you're good on the eyes or something like that.
You're nice to look at. Yeah.
Was that in 2020?
Yeah, right.
It was like 2 years ago, a year and a half ago.
So, but that's the first time I heard that in the series. And so it was like, my God, I can't imagine that would never happen.
No.
Look at
and
this.
That's a recruiter sort of setting the stage, that's.
Well, that was our reaction. Like, what? Why would you? So it was very interesting. But with that, I'm looking forward to hearing a outsider's experience, someone not from the FRSecure family. So let's dive in. I mean, first, Kristin, kind of just give us a little bit of your background, how you got into the industry. And
Yeah, well, I'm not a technologist, so that's probably different from your other guests. I'm an interpreter, I call myself, because it's easy to know, unfortunately, more than most people in a room in cybersecurity, because the general public doesn't really pay attention to it as much as we'd like them to, obviously. And I was a stay-at-home mom. I was a school teacher, raised the kids, and then no one would hire me because I had stayed home. I had 2 master's degrees, and I had so many women turn me down, say, no, you really haven't worked. So I ran for office and got elected because I had been really active in my community. So I have a really weird way of getting to cyber. And then when I was an elected official in 2009, I was at NACO, the National Association of Counties meeting. And at even 40 something, I was the youngest person in the room. A lot of county commissioners are a little older, and most of them weren't using email at the time yet in 2009. And the White House was looking for, and DHS were looking for someone to help them teach elected officials about their role in cybersecurity, meaning budget and policy decisions. And so I was approached by someone who was detailed to the White House, and he asked if I would help him educate elected officials. So we met with governors, mayors, state representatives, and I was really one of the first, non-technical people in that space educating that group of people. Wow. So, if I had gotten into healthcare 11, 12 years ago, I certainly wouldn't be a national speaker. I wouldn't be someone who, is working with the national leaders across the country on an issue, because other people have been in healthcare so much longer. But being in cybersecurity the way I have been for the past 11, 12 years, there really aren't a lot of other people who've done what I've done. So, it's really been such an incredible opportunity.
I love that. It just goes to prove what we've always known, is there's no one way into this industry.
No.
no.
And there's no one kind of job either. People like, oh, I don't know how to code. I don't know how to code, but I've talked to some of the top cybersecurity specialists, CISOs in the country almost every day,
Yeah.
So there's a lot of needs in the industry that don't necessarily have to do with coding.
Oh, for sure.
Put it in layman's terms there.
Well, I can totally see the teacher background being just incredibly helpful, because there's a huge issue with communication, right? You have some of these technical people that are just incredibly brilliant at what they do, but they cannot communicate to as Evan calls them, the normal people.
Right. Well, and elected officials pose a special concern because they can't show vulnerability. They can't show that they don't understand something. So when I would meet with elected officials, they'd say, can you just give me 3 questions to ask my CIO or my CISO? Because I don't want to look stupid. And, because they can't look vulnerable, like they don't know anything, because they're the ones making the rules and spending all the money. So it was really important for them to be able to speak about it intelligently. And that was what I could help them do. Say, here, ask the CIO or the CISO these 3 questions, or maybe ask the CISO to come to the board meeting once a quarter and update you on the great stuff that they're doing, and so some of my favorite conversations where I had elected official and a CISO or a CIO in the same room, and I brought them together to talk for the very first time. They'd never talked to each other. So
That's pretty cool.
Wow.
So are you still involved in education much? I mean, in terms of like K-12 or higher ed?
So higher ed, yes, I'm on the board of Detroit Mercy's university that focuses on cyber and information assurance. I do a lot of mentoring with students who are going into college or people coming out of the military looking to get into cyber. And I still think we have a long way to go to make that path easier. And I've been involved with NICE, the National Initiative on Cybersecurity Education, out of NIST from the very beginning. And they do an incredible job on workforce development issues for the federal government and for the whole country. They're really the leader on that space. So I'm always involved with it.
Good for you. Well, and I know Ryan's doing work with NICE too. So you probably cross paths. If not formally, you will, I'm sure.
Well, the founder of NICE, the first person who ran it was Ernest McDuffie, and he just joined our board of directors. So I am so excited. I'm such a fan of it.
Cool.
So,
Very cool.
yeah.
I love that.
So I guess tell me a little bit about the Cybercrime Support Network. What do you guys do now?
Yeah, we're a nonprofit, public-private partnership. I know that's a overused term, but we literally get about half our money from federal grants and half our money from private sector sponsorships like Microsoft and Trend Micro, AT&T, those kind of folks. And I didn't want to start another nonprofit to start another nonprofit. I actually didn't want to leave my old job, but some people gave me some money for this one, like, oh, somebody's got to go run that company. So I wanted to fill a space that no one else was taking care of, and that is the millions and millions of consumers and small businesses that are impacted by cybercrime every year. They don't know where to go. They call 911. I had a 911 dispatch center ask me if I'd come train their dispatchers on how to answer these calls about romance scams and identity theft. And so we did some research, and they said, just please give us a website we can send people to, because we don't like hanging up and saying, I can't help you. I mean, they're public servants. So what we are working on, and I think being pretty successful, is building the national infrastructure so that the public can call one number to get to where they need to go. And then FBI, FTC, DHS, state and local cyber command centers can get the threat information and the crime information, and we can actually count the victims, because until we count them all, we can't get Congress to act and give us funding to serve them. We can't get more fusion center staff. We can't get more state police staff that are cyber investigators or forensic specialists, analysts. So we work very closely with Congress too, keeping them abreast of what we're doing. And about 8 months ago, we got a cooperative agreement from CISA, Chris Krebs group at DHS, and we are helping to build the national infrastructure as a partnership with DHS. And we just got refunded non-competitively for year 2, so we're on our way.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Definitely something we've talked about, Evan, is for such a data-driven industry, there's just not good data out there.
No, there's not.
Like, how much does a breach cost, or how much does this happen? There's just nothing out there.
Yeah. And our partners at Internet Crime Complaint Center, they do a great job. They had 450,000 complaints last year. And of those 450,000 complaints, they're FBI. They lost $3.5 billion, just those 450,000 people. Wow. So we estimate that if 1 in 4 Americans are victims of cybercrime, they're losing $300 billion with a B every year. And that's an economic crisis that no one's talking about. So that's what we want to get those people counted. We want to get them into the system. And if they actually have some place to go to get help, then they'll actually go. But they just usually don't think there's anywhere to go.
Yeah, it's crazy. So in 2016, somebody filed fraudulent tax returns from.
Dude, I apologize for that. I'm sorry.
Did he get a refund that year?
So, yes, actually, we were planning on moving up to Minneapolis, and we filed, luckily in February, mid-February, and that somebody had failed. And I can only imagine if somebody who didn't understand what was going on, what it would have been like. But we filed 2 days after, so they hadn't actually processed it yet.
You got lucky.
And they
so you have to file early.
Yeah.
I always get on my husband, we have to file in February because
Yeah.
someone else is going to if we don't.
If we hadn't, and I mean, but even then, like, yeah, we filed the local police report because you have to do that, and the cop couldn't have cared less. Like, I get it. There's not much he
It's
can
not
do.
their thing. Yeah,
But,
it's not a tier 1 crime or whatever it's called. So
but we had to have the police report number to file with the IRS and
yeah,
track all that stuff. And luckily the IRS, when we called them, it was great. I mean, they were fantastic and super helpful. But
yeah.
I can only imagine not knowing security and understanding some of the technology and doing that and trying to navigate that. It would have been.
Yeah. What if you're 78 and you really aren't that computer savvy and you don't have people you trust that you can ask about it? Where do you go? And who's going to hold your hand through all of it?
Or you mail in a paper return and 6 months later they come back and say, what's going on?
Yeah.
I've
And
read at least 2 stories where elderly people have committed suicide because of.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, unfortunately, we're starting a support group for senior victims of romance scams. And Debbie Deem, who was an FBI victim services agent in LA County, started this right before she retired. And I told her it'd be my goal to make it a national program. And she said every one of the women that came to her support group after they had given away all their money, they were all suicidal.
Yeah.
Because if you're 78 and you just gave away $250,000 your entire retirement, you can't go back to work and make that back up. Your kids are blaming you that you should have been smarter, and now you can't handle a checkbook, so they're going to take everything away from you, and they're mad at you, and it's just an awful place to be. And it's happening so frequently now, especially with the isolation everyone's feeling. And on our FRSecure.org website, romance scams are the #1 page that's visited, and people usually spend about 8 minutes on that page, which if you know anything about website traffic, 8 minutes on any page is a lot. So we have to address romance scams. Like if there's anything I do this year, I really want to make sure that we are helping people with romance scams.
Well, and one of the things that, that's so cool about you and cool about your organization is we have this shared heart, right? I mean, we hate seeing people getting taken advantage of. I hate it.
Yeah, that's why we do what we do. I mean, that's what keeps us going, and our whole team. I was the only person on the team July 1, 2018, and we now have 30 people.
Good for you.
Every one of them is really passionate. I mean, you met Joan. They're just so passionate about making things work, and they work way harder than they're paid for and way more hours than they're supposed to, but they're all really dedicated, and it shows. That's why we've been able to grow so quickly.
Good for you. I love it. I love it. And I love the fact that we can, I mean, I know we're exploring, in time, there's all these things, in working together, we're trying to quantify information security and use it as an education tool for people, right? Ideally, you'd prevent it, prevention's always better, right? So if you can become
not so effective.
No, I know, right? We've got so far to go.
It's, and yeah, I just think we have to find another way.
Yeah. Well, and the sad thing is too, I mean, information security, so financial stuff, privacy and safety can't be separated anymore.
Right. Oh, no, I mean, it's all a risk management issue. And what we find, I have a corny phrase, after there's been a breach, it's the best time to teach. And, I think that's why when people come to our site, we want them to report, recover, but then reinforce their security before they leave. Because I feel like talk to someone about putting on 2-factor authentication on their account before they've lost $500. Oh, I don't want to take the time, whatever. But tell them right after they've been breached, oh my gosh, how do I get that on my phone? Like help me get that on there, please. So I think once they've been a victim the first time, so we focus on not prevention, but preventing re-victimization. So if we can get people to come to us one time, yep, they get scammed one time, but then they don't get scammed again, we could decrease crime exponentially. So I think that's the best time to capture people and get them to actually change their security posture. That's my theory.
No, it's a good theory. I actually put the quote in our chat.
Yeah.
I'm going to quote that on Twitter.
I'm going to make t-shirts.
Yeah. I'll
It's
take
so
one.
true.
I might send you one.
Please. I'll wear it proudly. I've been wearing mental health hackers shirts
Nice.
a lot. That's a whole nother thing. But anyway, back to your perspective on security stuff and things.
So it's really interesting to hear. I mean, it reinforces what we've been preaching is, you know, what their security at home and their behaviors at home translate to work. And I mean, what you're saying is exactly what we see.
Yeah. And every time I teach cybersecurity for either consumers or small businesses, you know, when I did stuff live in person, I'd have TV stations there and they'd say, well, today's event was about small businesses. What advice would you give to consumers? I'd say the same thing. It's like good cyber hygiene is good cyber hygiene. There's no different messaging. Just use two-factor authentication, for goodness sake. Like, you know, don't click on stuff that you're not supposed to. Slow down. There's just, you know, it's the same thing. But I've really come to terms with it after being in education and awareness for over 10 years is we can't just tell people. We have to actually do it for them and with them. I have a really good friend who runs a $50 million budget, and he said to me, can you just put two-factor on my email for me? Like, you run this incredible organization with $50 million budget and you want me to add two-factor to your email. And that was a light bulb day for me. So I realized our seniors are definitely not going to do it on their own. So we're starting a program called Securing Our Seniors, where we're going to help encourage college age and high school age, maybe even middle school kids, to go sit down with someone in their life and actually sit them through and add two-factor, change their privacy settings. Like pick 3 or 4 things that the top experts like you guys will say, just do these 4 things, and you're going to, you know, really increase their security. So we're hoping to get that program off the ground in Q4 this year.
Very cool. There's some, I volunteer for ISC Squared's, the Cyber Safe Online.
Yeah.
And they have some really good stuff for like seniors and parents. Something like, so that's awesome.
They're one of our partners. But you can't just put the video up there. You've got to have someone sit down with them. And then what I figured too, if their grandson who's in college is willing to sit down for half an hour with them and do this, guess what? If something fishy comes along, they're probably going to call or text that grandson and say, hey, honey, what do you think of this? Do you think this is real? Because now they've got this confidant that they can go to, and maybe they won't send something to a stranger until they check in. And then we built that relationship.
No, I agree. I think that's awesome. Because I was going to say one of the biggest feedbacks I get when I do more like the school for the parents and stuff is there something out there for us? How do I reset my router password from default? I don't know. And so to hear you guys are doing that there's definitely a huge need for that.
Yeah, we don't understand because we live in this space that if someone sees even a step-by-step guide on how to reset your router default, they just like, oh, I don't know if I can do that. I'm not a computer person.
Yeah, what if I break it?
Yeah, people are so intimidated. Really, really bright people, if they are not in this industry, are very intimidated. That is the bottom line. And so we have to make it in a way that they can't miss, you know?
Right. Yeah.
That's very cool.
So tell me about, or tell us about kind of how you got here. So you started as the county commissioner and then where did you go from there?
So I was the first elected person to be put on the Center for Internet Security's executive committee because I was doing so much outreach to state and local government, and that's part of the MSISAC. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the MSISAC, multi-state ISAC. They're funded by DHS to handle SLTT, state, local, tribal, territorial cyber threats. And when I was on that executive committee, I was at their annual meeting, and Will Pelgrin, who's amazing and was the founder of MSISAC, said, you know, we really need to expand our reach to local governments. And I said, Will, I want to do that for you. I'm already doing it anyway. You should pay me to do that. And he's like, great, come to Albany, let's talk in 2 weeks. I said, but wait, I'm running for state representative. I've gotten all my, you know, endorsements. I've gotten the party to agree that they were going to support me and everything. But I thought, okay, I could run for office and be like just massacred online and nasty stuff. Or I could go take a job that I don't have to run for and actually make more money. And so I left my elected position and went and worked for Will at MSISAC and grew their local CISO membership. And so state and local CISOs are sort of the people I love the most.
Mm-hmm. That's cool. Very cool. So in your opinion, do you think we have a shortage of women in our industry?
You know, I work with a lot of women, and I started a women's group in Michigan. We have 58 people so far. There are a lot of women out there, but I still hear that some of them don't see a woman all day. You know, if they are a CISO, like in a medical company or an insurance company, they'll say, I literally don't see a woman all day. One of the women we just hired, she was at a federal agency and she was the only woman in her department. So we probably don't have enough, but sometimes, you know, I've been to a hacker conference. There were 42 women there out of about 1,500 people. And I have to say there was a lot of tension in the room and a lot of nasty stares in a mean way. And one of the women got up to speak as one of the amazing speakers. She was military. She'd been at Cyber Command Center. She was so amazing. And the way the men treated her from the audience was so disgusting. I should have stood up and said, shame on all of you, but I didn't. So I felt what it feels like to be a woman going into the InfoSec part. You know, I've stepped into it enough to feel that tension and how unwelcoming it is. So we don't have enough, but we have to have a critical mass so that they can support each other. So women's groups like Executive Women's Forum, I'm on the executive committee there. Those are so critical. The Women's Cyber Jiu-Jitsu, you know, these groups are forming, but it's tough to get in there and feel comfortable and appreciated and respected, unfortunately, still.
Do you think that's maybe why we don't see it, right?
Yeah.
I think that goes back to what Victoria said last week or in Lori, where that guys tend to be like, I'm not sure, but let's just do it. And women are more introspective and only do it when they're like really certain, and that kind of.
Yeah, because if you put your toes in, like, you get burned a little bit, and you've got to be really strong and really want to do it to push up against that. I mean, why would you go into something where there's a pushback?
Right.
It just, we got to get rid of that pushback. And I love men. I'm married to one for almost 30 years, but we need them to be a part of the solution. It can't just be the women. Like, they've got to really work to not treat us differently because we're women, but just treat us the same. And I'm not some big feminist, and, you know, like, this is just basic respect, human to human. Right. You know, I don't want men to be thinking, oh, I have to be so careful if a woman's in the room. No, just be normal. Right. You know, that's the thing. Just be yourself, and just the way, you know, you two talk to each other, talk to your colleague who's a woman. I'm sure in your company you've got a great culture. And that's what I'm trying to build here at CSN. We're almost all women. I think we only have 3 men. But we're trying to build a culture where everybody's voice is heard, everybody's voice is important. And if you just stick with everybody's voice is important, regardless of what you look like, feel like, who you sleep with at night, like whatever, you know, everybody's voice has value. And if we start there and we try and get the men to adopt that way of thinking, I think we can encourage more women to come in and stay in.
Well, I think sometimes men, you know, that I've seen in instances like what you described in that conference, a lot of that comes from insecurity. You know, a lot of it comes from feeling threatened.
Yeah.
So
that's what I felt. It felt that way.
Yeah. Like
I feel it. Yeah.
I don't feel confident enough in myself, in my skills, and what I bring to the industry or what I bring to my company, that if I see somebody else come who's, you know, who might be a threat to that, I'll put them down rather than welcome them with open arms. Right. Mm-hmm. So I think a lot of those men who are, you know, jerks, you know, they need to work on their self-esteem, maybe get better at your job.
Or just appreciate how good you already are and how everybody in this industry is valuable, because we need so many people. You know, the men are going to fail if we don't have enough bodies. You know, we just need bodies. So if it's women or, you know, monkeys or robots that can do it, let's get them in here, because we need bodies. There's, you know, there's an opening for intelligent, thoughtful people to get into the industry.
There's got to be a study that's been done somewhere that if you put, you know, 5, 10 like individuals, meaning similar backgrounds, similar race, similar everything, in a room to solve a complex problem, right? Something that's going to require, I don't know, a real creative solution. And then you take a diverse group with different perspectives where people are different. They've got, some from the inner city, some from rural, some from the suburbs, some white, some black, some Asian, some women, some men, some, I don't know all the names that they have for people now, that are fit between the men and the women, but you bring those people and do the same kind of thing. I bet you 9 times out of 10, you come up with a much better solution out of that diverse group.
There is a study. There's actually quite a few of them. And that's why California has now mandating that you at least have 2 women or 5% women on your board of directors.
Right.
They did it with corporate culture, I think, and corporate boards of directors that the companies moved forward more, the more diverse their board was.
Yeah. See, that's the reason why I want diversity is it's better for your business. It's better for everybody.
I don't know all the answers. And if I surround myself with just people like me, then we're just going to have one train of thought and then we're going to get nowhere.
Yeah.
Right. Or it's the same stupid, repetitive, dry crap week after week. It's like, my God.
Yeah.
Well,
we'd be bored. So that's why.
Yeah. I just don't, it's so bizarre to me that people don't want other inputs, right? Like, how are you going to grow and become better if you're not listening and open and receptive to what other people have to say? Like Evan said, yeah, we know everybody else, they have different experiences. Why are you doing it that way? Help me understand that. Oh.
And I think maybe for some of the men who struggle with this insecurity thing, just try it once. Just try being welcoming, because what you'll find is you will be elevated as well.
Mm-hmm.
You'll be a better person. You'll be better at security. You'll be better professionally,
And we need more people like you to show them the way and continue to be vocal about it. Because if you can show, look, we've got the successful business and look at the leadership here. This is what we do and it works. It's okay. Because you said they're intimidated. They're scared. So sort of like pull them over and say, look, we're doing it. It's okay. And look how successful we're being. And it doesn't hurt. It actually is fun. Work should be fun. If work's not fun and you're depressed and sad every day at work, then goodness, I couldn't do it. That's for sure.
Unfortunately, I have a lot less patience with men than I do with women. So I'd probably bash them over the head with something.
Think about it too. I report to a woman, right? Renee is my boss. That's who I report to. And I know a lot of men would be like, no. And I'll tell you how long has she been here? Year and a half? 2 years?
2 years. I think almost 2 years.
You know what I find is the special sauce on that one is the men on our team. They are so incredibly talented. One is a retired FBI unit chief. He used to brief the Pentagon, for goodness sakes, and he answers to me technically. But he doesn't bring an ego to the room. Like the men on our team, they don't walk in with their ego first. They walk in and say, how can we help? What can we do? They believe in service. And then it's on me to make sure that they feel like they're not underneath me for some reason. We do servant leadership. So I work for them. I'm there to help them be as successful as they possibly can. And that really works. And if they have a good idea, I want to hear it. If they think I'm doing something stupid, I want them to tell me. I've surrounded myself with really, really bright people that have way more experience than me. And that's the only reason we're doing well. So you can't have the boss act like a boss. That just is a non-starter to me. No one's in charge of anybody else,
Yeah. And you sound just like Renee, which is great. But, I was going to say, it isn't like, it's who I report to structurally. It's not, I've grown, I'll be honest, like I've probably grown more from a business perspective the last 2 years under her than I had under male bosses for 20 years.
Dude, when you look at her resume, there's no way in hell we should have somebody with that skill set here. I mean, it's like she far exceeds anything that we, deserve here. She's amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
She loves the culture, I bet. She feels respected and a part of the team. Yeah. She can lead. And it's really important. People don't pay enough attention to culture. I think we're getting better at it. I think there's been, more things on LinkedIn about, people don't leave their job, they leave their boss. So, you know.
That's true.
Yeah. Oh, very true.
So you've probably seen a lot of people come and go in this industry, and probably a lot of women too. What advice do you have for a woman who is exploring opportunities, maybe getting in this industry?
Mentorship. You know, I try and mentor people. The Executive Women's Forum has mentorship, cyber jujitsu. Like, find a group of people that are not, you know, men bashing by any means, but are women empowering. You know, you can get into a women's group that's all about, oh, what did the mean people do at work to me today? That's not going to help anybody. But if you get into a woman empowerment, that they can be there for you maybe after 5 o'clock for a Zoom happy hour if you had a hard day and need to be encouraged to keep going. But connect with other women and do it early in your career. You know, the Executive Women's Forum has this great lift program for millennials, and they come in, they get attached to CISOs and CIOs of big companies, and they just bring them right along and lift them up and give them the tools they need. So, you know, don't give up, because we need people. And plus, it's a really lucrative, cool job to have. I mean, we want to get rid of this pay gap with women too. We'll get them into cyber, and they should be making a lot of money. So, and there's jobs to fill, but you have to have that support system, I think, is really important.
Now, do you think there would be any value in having a men's support system for women?
Yeah, I do. And I think that they do have champions in Executive Women's Forum that are men, but within organizations, I think there should be a joint group that is supporting new people in general. Don't just make it about women. You know, at some point, we're not going to call cybercrime cybercrime. It's just going to be crime, because it's all connected to cyber at some level. Like, let's stop actually even in the workplace calling them out. This is the women of our work group. I know, just have a new person group. Anybody who comes in new, they feel supported. When someone joins our group, I have them have a sit down with almost everybody on the team. I don't care if they're men, women, whatever. They should become a part of our family, and, you know, have a new person, like orientation and then mentorship. You know, have them. I said when someone joined our, I'm like, okay, Reva's going to be your go-to, or Andy's going to be your go-to when you first join us. If you have any question, go right to them first, and they'll help you figure it out, and have them connect with somebody that's sort of their person on the inside. But I don't think you have to even call it out as women versus men. You know, let's just make it new people coming to our organization. Let's treat them all the same and make them feel welcome.
Yeah, and respect those perspectives, man. I mean, I've solved, Brad, you and I, you know, we've worked together for a while now. How many times have we really just struggled with a really, really challenging problem that we need to solve, right? And so you draw on all these experiences that you've got from different people that brought different, I mean, even at home, right? My wife, if it wasn't my wife, I'd live in a cardboard box. You know what I mean? There's these perspectives that she brings. It's like,
Yeah.
dang, I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, but you bring great perspectives too. And if you're willing to listen to each other together, like you said, when you have that diversity of thought, you're going to finally come up with something really good, because no one person's always right.
Right.
No one perspective is always right. So when you come together, and I love our meetings, because in our internal team meetings, we'll really get down to, no, I totally disagree with you. This does not work. That doesn't work. And then at the end, after we had a chance to really disagree, like, oh, you know what? We can all see, like, if we just go that way, and we've totally shifted and changed ideas. We totally threw some work we'd done for 6 months under the bus a week ago, and like, okay, guess what? We got to shift. And it's just the nature of the work we do right now. It's always moving, so we have to be able to shift. And you can't have your ego in it. You can't own it. You know, maybe that's what women bring to the table too, is we don't really bring the ego as much to the table.
Well, what's so great is, you know, the kind of the consulting team is probably 40% women at FRSecure, and we'll have these big, you know, hey, what are we doing? And you know, they've brought answers that I've been from angles that I never would have even considered. But what's so great is, at the end of the day, even if we're disagreeing, we all are trying for the same thing. We all want the same goal.
Right.
But if you can have, like, 10 paths coming into that one goal versus 2, how can you not have a better solution?
Well, another thing for us when we started, you know, we had to be intentional. It wasn't just going to happen, right? There wasn't just going to be a female executive just land in our board meeting, right? We had to be intentional. We actually when we went and hired Renee, we were 4 white men looking at each other and we're like, this is so dry. We need to shake this up. So we specifically said, well, let's go recruit a female. And I don't know if that's legal or whatever, but that's what we did. And Renee, like, holy crap.
You have to make those conscious efforts to have a diverse workforce. That's legal. It's not legal to say, I'm going to go hire anybody who's not a woman. That's illegal probably. But okay. Consciously saying, I want a diverse workforce, I'm going to look at these candidates and I'm going to go out and try and find someone that looks different than me. That's what we have to do. We have to be intentional about it. I love that word. Yeah, it has to be intentional.
Yeah. So I think anybody who's out there hiring, looking for good security folks, look at your team. Look at the diversity of your team. You know, if they're all the same with the same backgrounds, it's probably time to shake things up.
Yeah. And go on LinkedIn. We've been using LinkedIn for recruiting. It's cost effective and you can see all of their background and, you know, it's been a really great tool for us.
I think that's a really good segue. And the last kind of question is what can we do better about recruiting, you know, more women into the industry, you know?
Well, they're there. I would say the best way to get more women to be interested in it is to have some more women be successful. So get the ones who are already there, that are just getting started, just finished, you know, go to the universities, recruit them, get them on as interns and then keep them. That's what we've done a lot here. And then they'll start talking to their friends. They'll start talking to their little sisters and their cousins. You know, let's get the ones that are here successful first before we keep trying to bring a bunch in that are going to come into a system that's not working for them. So let's make the system we're in work really well. And I think it'll just happen naturally. You know, people are going to be drawn to it because they're going to hear all these amazing stories of the women. But what you're doing is so fantastic, highlighting the women that really love their jobs and are passionate and having a great time. Yeah, we've all had some bad experiences, but I bet Renee loves her job 99% of the time, you know, and I love my job 99% of the time. Yeah, I had a bad thing at a hacker conference. I just don't go to those as much anymore. But, you know, you find your place and let's just make sure the women that are in the industry are having such a great time that they're going to go out and tell their friends to come in.
Yeah, I think it's wonderful advice. I love it.
Yeah.
Focus on the things that are working.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just try and be better and kinder every day. I mean, that's not hard.
Our whole world could use that, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, just be kind. That's one of my best friend's favorite sayings is just be kind. You know, it's just, life's too short and there's enough negative out there. Just be kind to each other.
Well, I love how you mentioned, you know, the servant leadership.
Yeah.
You know, that's also something to be intentional. Sometimes it doesn't come natural, right?
Right.
Naturally, sometimes we're selfish people and,
yeah,
you know, I want what's best for me. But you realize that when you're a good servant leader, that the things that you do that are best for other people end up being what's best for you.
Oh my gosh. It is
It's
so
crazy how they come
fulfilling.
full circle, right?
It is so fulfilling to me to know when I hear from one of our teammates, you know, we also try and hire military spouses and give them flexible work hours. You know, 3 o'clock, they're done. Their husbands are, God knows where, helping us stay safe. And they've got 3 kids to take to Taekwondo and everything else. Like, you're done at 3 o'clock, put it on your calendar. Like, you are out of the office. And, you know, when I hear back from them, how they've never had an experience where they could actually feel like they are meeting their goals in their work life and their home life. You know, it's never perfect, but that they have a work atmosphere that allows them to be a parent and a military spouse and a professional. It's, you know, that kind of stuff. I did not realize how rewarding that would be. It really feels good. That's my favorite part of the job.
That's cool.
That's just great.
No, it's it. We're good. We're good. Well, if we could run the world, right? Let's do it.
Well, you know, we control our areas of influence, right?
Right.
And as we control our areas of influence, they overlap with other areas of influence, and it can change the world. You know, I mean, I believe that.
Yeah, 1% at a time. I've got 30 people in our office that I think actually really enjoy what they're doing. So they go out and spread kindness at the end of the day because they're not pulling their hair out and hate their life, you know? So hopefully that's multiplying across the ecosystem.
Yeah, I love it.
And I can tell you, based on my experience here, like it will attract the right people, right? Like the team we have at FRSecure, because Evan preaches that from the top.
Yeah.
Evan, you want to say what we have, our hiring policy?
Yeah, I know that people get offended, cancel culture is crazy.
I know you like saying it though.
Yeah, but I usually get up and when we do our quarterly meetings, when people, you look across the room and you're like, we do not have a single dickhead here.
Yeah.
So that's what we've created. The no dickhead rule.
Yeah. Anybody who comes in with an ego and wants to be the boss of someone, wants to be in charge of something, they haven't stayed. It just didn't work, and that's it. You can't be a jerk. You got to come in, be a good person who just wants to help others and be a part of servant leadership. We make them read a book and agree that they are going to be a part of a servant leadership organization so they know what this means. This means you're not the boss of anybody, regardless of how many people you supervise. And you got to be okay with that, or you're not going to fit.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So, yeah, so great to hear, and I'm sure we're just going to hear more great things from you here over the next couple of years.
Well, it's so fun to meet kindred spirits, like Evan said, that, people that have the same passion that we do. Like I said, I would not get up this early in the morning on a Monday after a holiday for just anybody, but I knew what kind of person you were. So I was honored to be on your show.
Thank you very much. Well, we have a saying too, it's information security is not about information or security as much as it is about people.
Yeah.
It's always about people, and it's about people for at least two reasons. One is people suffer.
Yeah.
We do things incorrectly or things go bad. And two, people are the biggest risk.
Right.
So oftentimes they're their own worst enemy. And so the work that you guys are doing, we support it 100%. I'm excited to see where the future brings us together because we're both trying to help people.
That's right. That's right. Well, and people need to be the solution too, and they can be. And so you just have to give them the tools. And that's what we're trying to do, is give them the tools to be the solution. And I think we're making a lot of progress, but we can't do it without partners like you and our federal, state, and local government partners. I mean, it really is an all hands on deck, and everyone's come to, like, no one that we've asked to partner with has said no. So it's pretty good.
It's awesome.
Well, I think I wish I'd known, or I should have known about this, because I'm just thinking back, and we've had several school districts that we work with that have had teachers fall for the gift card scam and out hundreds or a couple $1,000s. And it's not, I've got family that's teachers, and they don't have a lot of extra cash laying around.
Oh, well, get them to our websites, fraudsupport.org and scamspotter.org. I mean, we made those for people just like that. But don't just say, hey, go to this website. Sit down with them and go to the website.
For sure, yeah. And these are people we have like partnerships with and ongoing. So yeah, that's great to hear. I'm going to definitely tell our entire vCISO team about this.
And we can send them posters to the schools if they want to, when people are actually in school. We can, whatever they need. We just want to get the word out.
It's never a one and done either, right? We're trying to form good habits, and those take time.
Right.
Yep. Yeah. So, well, Kristin, thank you. Is there anything else at all you wanted to share before we move on to news?
This has been great. Thank you.
All right. So feel free to stick around and chime in. I just have three. There's so much going on, but the three I picked were, first one, security analysts disproportionate in their investigation of malware from InfoSecurity magazine. And I thought this one was interesting. And it makes sense too from what we see from an IR perspective. But basically, Kaspersky said that backdoors, 24%, and droppers, 23%, are among the most commonly sent free requests to the threat intelligence portal. They only make up 7% or 3% of malicious files blocked by the endpoint products, respectively. So when you look at that, it's like, that's kind of weird. Why? And it's the end result, right? Those are typically what you find after a breach that the endpoint isn't necessarily finding. But I thought that was kind of interesting to see and read about there from a little bit more of a technical perspective. And it does align with what we see in the IRs is you find a lot of those Trojans and droppers that aren't being found by endpoint protection. We drop them in there to, hybrid analysis or wherever, and like, yeah, three out of 72 antiviruses find this.
Well, I mean, think about it. This is a business, right? And if I was in business of attacking other people, why wouldn't I test against your protections before I launch?
Right.
That's another really good point.
Yeah, and you have to keep changing and that's why the security needs to keep changing, and they need to know what's actually happening out in the wild so they can morph with the criminals.
Yeah.
And the one thing that all of this comes back to and points to one place as really the source is it's always the people.
Yeah.
And so all these things it's like doctors, right? They treat symptoms. They put Band-Aids and bandages and casts on things and give you flu medicine. But at the end of the day, it's the person, right? If you want the cure, and you're never going to get 100% cure, right? I mean, right. You talked about it, Kristin. It's risk management, not risk elimination.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Second one was was it REvil ransomware gang adds auction feature for stolen data. So not great if you've gotten their malware ransom by them, because now they're gonna just auction off your stuff anyway.
So they're just getting more creative. They used to just sell it flat outright. Now they're doing eBay, basically.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
their own eBay.
Yeah.
Yeah, they said include a U.S. food distributor, accounts and documents with a starting price of $100,000, a U.S. law firm with 50 gig of data, including confidential and personal information, with a starting price of $30,000 for 50 gig of data.
Wow.
An intellectual property law firm, 1.2 terabytes of data, including, quote, all internal documentation, correspondence, patent agreements, and client confidential information with a starting price of $1 million.
Okay, so this is where, we do have to mandate some kind of security for groups like lawyers who have all this information. There has to be some minimum security standards that they have to follow. That kind of stuff just gets me.
Well, and yeah, when you think about it, you got really manufacturing has the 800-171 and the new CMMC that are coming out that they're going to have to fall under. Yeah. And you've got finance and healthcare, legal. There's not really nothing other than maybe some state privacy laws.
Lawyers, accountants, I think it's realtors. I do a lot of training of real estate agents, title agents. Like they have to have some requirements. I actually did a lesson or a class to bank regulators, and they said, you should make the banks themselves for the regulators. They said you should regulate us more. It was the financial investment people, and regulate us more because this is Wild West out here. They were actually asking for regulation because they know that they've got their pants down.
Well, and we've done several IRs for law firms where it's like one had, LDAP unencrypted open to the internet. So their entire Active Directory is just open. And if there's some sort of regulation, at least then they can maybe force the issue. But lawyers, they don't like even having policies.
No.
Because, well, I'd rather not have it written down so I can argue my way out of it. That's not how it works in the real world. Maybe in court, but
when you can't do billable hours for the time they put into security.
Right? Yeah, but if all your documents are gone, guess what? Not going to go well for you.
One heck of a lawsuit coming.
Drives me crazy. I'm with you. Yeah. So last one was ending on a positive note. A record number of enrolled in online NCSC Cyber First courses. So I thought that was really kind of uplifting, and then hearing your background as a teacher and what you're doing, that really kind of ties in nicely with this. So I got lucky on that one. But yeah, record number of teenagers enrolled in the NCSC Cyber First summer courses this year, which are being held online for the first time. So it's teenagers from 14 to 17 to develop digital and problem-solving skills.
Awesome.
Yeah, 1,700 accepted this year as a increase of 600 over last year. So I went from 1,100 to 1,700, which is fantastic. And I mean, gosh, it just needs to keep growing.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. Evan, anything?
Well, who's the editor for InfoSec?
Well, yeah, we won't talk about that. Enroll with 1L.
In the title.
Yeah.
I see so many typos. I see so many typos in articles nowadays. It's just, I was an English teacher too, so it drives me crazy.
Oh, I bet.
But,
well, and it's good growth. I mean, 600 to 1,700. And we saw, what were we last year? For the CISSP mentor program?
We were right at 500, 530.
So we went from 500 to 1,444.
Well,
so it's good. It's good to see that everywhere. You're starting to see, an increased interest in security. Certainly our younger generation, because the younger generation, they're not getting it at home, right? Because that generation, the generation that we're in, we're the generation that remembers what it was like to use the rotary phones and remember what it was like to put dimes in and not carry devices all the time. And we went from there to where we're at now. We're not equipped well to teach that next generation who grows up with it all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's that digital native and digital immigrant?
Right.
Yeah.
And
well, and the Cyber Patriot program from the Air Force has grown exponentially thanks to my friend Tamara Shoemaker in Michigan.
Awesome.
I mean, Cyber Patriot is fantastic. It's a national competition, and it's all offense. Excuse me, it's all defense. It's all defense, which is great.
yeah.
Shoemaker?
Tamara Shoemaker. She's amazing. She is amazing.
Would she be a good guest?
Oh, she'd be a phenomenal guest. She runs the Detroit Mercy Information Assurance Program and CISI, which is I don't know what it's called, but it's for the National Centers for Excellence. You know how some of the universities are National Centers for Excellence through NSA, and she runs their organization, their association of all those. She's dynamo, and she's grown the Cyber Patriot program in Michigan from 17 teams to I think 400 or something crazy. I don't know where she's at now, but it could even be more. She's a rock star.
Yeah, I can imagine the perspectives there too.
Yeah, she's done such a good job of workforce development, single-handedly just gotten all these kids signed up, and it's been amazing growing it through the state, watching her.
That's super cool.
Very cool. All right. Well, that's it for episode 87. Thank you, Kristin, for joining us and making this fourth installment of the Women in Security series a great one.
Absolutely.
Yeah, this was this was great. I learned a lot. So
yeah,
thank you.
so fun. It's so fun to talk to you guys, and I hope to continue working with you. We'll find a way somehow to continue complementing each other's missions, and together we really can make a difference. No one's going to do it on their own. We've got to find those like-minded people and just keep pushing.
Yeah, absolutely. So we got really great guests lined up for the next 5-ish weeks. So
at least it just grew by another week.
I know it's great though. I mean,
yes.
Seriously, I've learned so much over the last 4 weeks doing this. It's been really cool.
And I have just one shout out. I want to shout out to Joan Giovanni for all the work she did to put us together. So I just want to call her out. That was really nice. That one, she recognized the opportunity, and then two, help us put it together.
Yeah, she's amazing. Our whole team, they just go above and beyond. I'm so fortunate every day.
Yeah, that's cool.
That sounds like your shout out there, Kristin, is to your team there.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, they are so dedicated. No one does this alone by any means. I get to be the face, which is really fun out there, but it's because of all their work every day, and they are so talented.
Cool.
Yeah, I don't know. Last week was so quiet. I didn't really talk to anybody, so I didn't really interact with people last week.
Well, we started doing, because of COVID, we started having a lunch a drop-in lunch. Sometimes people don't come, sometimes 5 or 6 come, but every day at 12 o'clock, it's on our calendar for our team. We can all get on a Google Hangout if you want to, and just have lunch together. Bring your sandwich, just to stay connected, because some people still live by themselves or don't see a lot of people all day. You know, they're not even going out to the store. They have in-laws they're taking care of. So we just, you know, it's a small gesture, but people just jump in. We had a happy hour last week or 2 weeks ago on Friday and had about 15 of us show up. So just, you know, trying to make that conscious choice, being intentional about staying connected.
Right.
Yeah. I think a lot of people were out with for the holidays, and it was, I won't lie, it was kind of nice to not have meetings all day long for the whole week.
And less emails. Yeah.
Actually feel like I got something accomplished. So it is kind of a nice change. So
Well, Brad, if you can't think of any shout outs, it was July 4th. Just give a shout out to America.
there you go. Yeah.
Right.
America.
Yay.
All right. Thank you to all our listeners. Keep questions and feedback coming. Send us things by email at unsecurity@protonmail.com. If you're the social type, you can socialize with us on Twitter. I'm at Brad Nye, and Evan is at Evan Francine. Kristin, is there any particular way you'd like people to find you?
Yeah, just go to cybercrimesupport.org, and we have an info. You can just send anything through the info box there, and it gets right to me if you need to find me, or whoever on our team that can help. So go to cybercrimesupport.org and send us a note.
Awesome.
Okay. And lastly, be sure to follow Security Studio at Studio Security and FRSecure at FRSecure for more goodies. And that is it. Talk to everybody next week.
All right.
Thanks again.